Hello and welcome to a nice fun edit. We're going to do this portrait headshot, business LinkedIn headshot edit, and I'm going to show you my complete process. I hope you find it useful. Feel free to leave me a comment if you have any questions. We're going to get right into it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run an action here. It's called FS216. This is a 16-bit image. Whenever you're editing photos or taking photos to be edited from Lightroom or Capture One, you're going to want to make sure that you use 16-bit to ensure that you have the most color and detail in your image. This is running some medium filters. That's median with an N at the end. And what we're doing is we're doing some frequency separation, and this is going to separate our high texture layers from our low color layers. If you're interested in learning more about how this is set up, I'm happy to go into that in another video. But for now, this is just editing. So I'm going to go into my high layer here. And I've selected the stamp brush tool. I'm using a soft, completely soft brush. Opacity at 100%, flow at 100%. Select the current layer. I'm using a Wacom tablet, so I have pressure sensitivity on. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sampling the background and just getting rid of some of these flyaways. Zoom in a little closer. And you'll notice that when I use the stamp tool in certain areas, it gets to a certain point and won't get rid of anything. That's because that's now on the color layer. That's on my low working layer here. So if I select the background again, I can get rid of that hair completely. Now, while that might seem like extra work, it is a little extra work, but it's also extra control. So what that means is if I'm sampling an area of texture from a similar area, I don't have to worry about the color. All I have to worry about is the texture that I want. And then I can go back and fine-tune the color if I need to. But if you're just using a blank layer and stamping with a stamp brush, then you have to worry about texture and color. So like here, let's say there was something over here like polka dots or something in the background. It wouldn't actually copy those polka dots over if they were just color, because all I'm doing is sampling texture here. So it doesn't affect anything except what I want. That's the beauty of frequency separation. It also means when I go in here, right, if I were to zoom in on this hair right here, this little area, I can sample here and then paint in here, and I don't have to worry about the color. I just know it's going to pull in the texture, and that looks really good. So in the past I had to worry so much about that I was sampling the exact right location, because if I didn't, then it would stick out really strange. So now you can see there, it's gone. I can extend this down a little further, create a little randomness, and that's it. The process for editing these types of photos for me, it takes some time. I've gotten pretty good at these sorts of shots. I've done several of these as of late, and yeah, my process is I try to keep it fast. So what I'm doing here now is I'm just trying to get rid of any of these flyaways relatively close to the head, not too close. I don't want to change the structure of the hair. I just want to get rid of the flyaways, and then I'll go back and maybe add in some flyaways that are a little more precise using a paintbrush. Some of these are a little trickier than others. Basically, I'm just looking for areas that are gonna cause distractions. anything that's catching the light weird, anything that's crossing over one area of hair. These headshots don't need to be perfect. I'm going to switch to my J tool here. Excuse me, my patch tool by hitting J. But these portraits don't need to be perfect because they're not beauty. They're not a beauty shot. They're just sort of business headshots. And but I do want them to look professional, right? I want to do, if I'm going to take the time to edit a photo, I want it to be done well. It doesn't need to be perfect. I'm not going for perfection here. That would take, 4 hours of my time, and I really want to crank this out as quickly as possible. But I do also, at the same time, want it to be good. So we're looking for the best we can get in the shortest amount of time. That's what we're going for here. And I really do enjoy this. I really love editing, and I really love retouching. I think it is super fun. Now I'm on the low layer using my stamp tool again. Just going through, getting rid of this color. Super fun. Now where it's a little blurry in the background here, we're not going to worry too much about that, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back, like I said earlier, I'm going to go back and I'm going to paint in some hairs, and then I will slightly blur those hairs and add some texture to them so that they look nice and natural. Looks like I got some high left over here. I'm going to go back to my high layer. Oops. There we go. It's always funny whenever I do these videos because the fan on my laptop is just going crazy. It's a combination of doing a QuickTime video and screen recording, and also having Photoshop do this type of work at the same time, I think. Alright, that's looking good on the edge here. On this edge at least. Yeah, that looks much better. It's good. Need to clean up over here. I generally like to start here. Sometimes I'll start with skin, sometimes I'll start with the edge of the hair. It just depends on what I want to do, what I'm in the mood for. There's no right or wrong way to go about doing this. If this were a super fancy edit, you could duplicate these layers and or add some blank layers in between to do some retouching on separate sections. So you'd have a frequency layer for doing the hair, and a frequency layer for doing the face, and a frequency layer for doing the clothes. That would be a whole nother level. That would be like if I were doing something for Nike or Coca-Cola or something like that. If someone were paying me a lot of money to have a perfect image, then yes, I would take the time and I would separate out everything individually and have groups and groups and groups. But for this, we can sort of do all of our work in this one area. And I'm pretty confident that I can get the results that I want all in one layer. I'm not going to do anything too crazy on a single layer. And I can always go back and erase things if something gets messed up. So that's always an option. Alright, I'm kind of bouncing all over the place, and that's just kind of my personality when I'm doing my editing. Sometimes I'm trying to do what's easiest first, right? See what that is. I'm going to bring this in nice, so this is nice and smooth here. So we're going to go big here, a little bigger, and get rid of that. because we don't actually need these flyaways. They're not doing anything for the image. So I'm going to get rid of them. Use back to my top layer. Excuse me, my color layer, I should say. There's actually my low layer. The texture sits on top of the color. That's why they call it the low layer and the high layer. High layer for texture, low layer for color. And that's why. So this looks way too perfect, right? It looks strange, oddly perfect. So what I'll do is I'll go back and make smaller little adjustments for the for little flyaways and stuff. And try to make it look a little bit more like what's going on up here, where there's just slight variation, slight little strands of hair coming off the edge. That's what we're looking for. We're trying to reduce chaos, reduce the distractions in the image. That's what retouching is really all about. It's about reducing distractions. And my style of retouching too is I want the person who I'm retouching to look good, but I also want them to look natural. I want them to look like the best version of themselves. I'm sure you've probably heard that before. I don't want them to look plastic. I don't want them to look fake. I don't want them to look like something they're not, but I do want them to look good. I want them to look good. And these, you know, having hair that is going in all different directions, that is not representative of a person's personality. That's just, you know, there was a little extra static in the room. And I have no problem ethically doing this sort of thing. I think the ethics or the morality of retouching is always something very interesting to me. As a person who does professional retouching, and I do it pretty often, retouching people in particular, and you know, I retouch other things as well, products, etc. But you know, people don't really care if you retouch a product. People get a little touchy when you retouch a person. My way of going about it is I always have a conversation with the individual if I'm doing something crazy, right? About what they want to keep and what they want to go away. Now, for the most part, if it's something like here, right, you can see there's some dead skin here. That's just a little piece of skin, stray hairs. I'm just going to take those out. Little bumps, whatever. We all have little pimples, little acne scars, little things like that. Happy to take them away. But if there's something that is characteristic of the person, you know, they have a distinctive scar, they have a mole, they have several moles, I'm not going to mess with those. I'm going to keep those in unless I think it's a distraction for, say, a beauty shot or for something that I'm working on as a personal project. But if it's for the client, if it's for the person, it's for their personal use, it's not for my personal use, I'm going to leave in whatever is sort of a permanent feature of that person. I'm not going to like change the structure of their face. I'm not going to change the structure of their body. I'm just trying to make them look good, you know? And that's sort of how it goes. That's sort of my my process. I think the other thing to keep in mind too is that when you look at an individual, you don't see all of their little imperfections, right? You sort of see a macro view of them. If you're standing in front of a person in real life, you see all of them, and you don't notice like the little pimples on their face, and you don't see all the other little imperfections in their skin. But when you take a photograph of them, right, you see everything. You know, the camera, as they say, doesn't lie, and so you see every little detail. And that level of detail can be sort of overwhelming, and what we often say is distracting, right? Like you can see these hairs. If you were looking at this person, you would be like, oh, in real life, you just see the person as they are. You'd see them sort of like this, right? But when you have a picture, you're like, oh, there's a big hair that's running down the side of her face, right? And as an image, that's distracting. In real life, we don't care. But as an image, it's distracting. And so it's my job as a photographer and as a retoucher to limit the amount of distractions, and so that the people are only focusing on, whoever's viewing this image is only focused on the important stuff, which is who this person is, and usually that is represented in the eyes. So you kind of want all the focus to go, sort of in this central area of the face. We'll just go like this. That sort of central area right there. That's where you want people to be focused. Anywhere else, if you're looking down over at the cheek here with the hair, that's going to distract people. We don't want that. No distractions. No distractions. So yeah, anyway, hope you found that little chat interesting. Right, so she's got this nice little sort of like indentation here, little dimple. It might, we might soften that up a bit, but it adds character to her face. So I'm not really inclined to remove that. Same on this side, right? That's, a nice little dimple. It makes you interesting, and I see no reason to remove things that add character to a person's face or their expression. So I'm gonna keep that sort of thing in, but like here, this little, little white stuff. I don't know what that is. A little pimple, a little whitehead. Don't need it. Don't need it. It's just distracting. It's catching light. Anything that's catching light is going to be distraction. All right, let's zoom out. So I think we're going to venture back. Where's my pen? Where's my pen? All right, there we go. I think we're going to play with the hair some more. Keep going in here, and as you'll notice, I'm switching a lot between the patch tool and the stamp tool. I really like the patch tool for skin retouching because it's sort of irregular, and that sort of randomness it incorporates into the edit makes the edit look a lot more natural. That's why I use the patch tool. Some people like the spot healing brush tool. Some people like the clone stamp tool for skin. I like the patch tool. But anyway, so like here, I might go back to the patch tool, but I'm going to try, since it's so close to her face, I'm going to use the stamp tool here because it's a little bit more precise. Sometimes when you try to edit something with the patch tool, right, like here, and I try to edit it and remove it, it sometimes does some weird things. That's okay, but sometimes it'll do some weird aliasing and stuff, which I don't really like. So you just have to be careful. It's all about using the right tool for the right job. So like here, I might use the patch tool, but it might cause some weird blurring and stuff, so I'm actually going to use the stamp tool. So I think it'll be more effective here. And that's just from experience. These are things you learn with more and more editing as you go. Alright, while I'm down here, I'm just going to go down with my, see like there, that was bad. That was pulling in the wrong colors that I want. So I'm actually going to switch to my mixer brush tool, and I actually have my hairbrush on, so I need to change that. So let's go to our brushes. We're going to go to a soft brush. Let me see here. Come on. Oops. I want this, please. Soft, round brush. That's what I want right there. For my mixer brush. Make this a little bigger. Zoom out a bit. Too much. Let's see. Just trying to correct this shadow of a hair. Let's clean this. Nice. Let's go back to our stamp tool. Nice. That looks good to me. I might also just do a little dodging and burning down in this area at some point. No big deal. Alright, back to the hair. Back to the hair. This hair is coming across the ear here. Don't like that. Oops. That's what we want. Let's clone low. All of these hairs. Ooh, look at that. It's chaos. Chaos. How much of something is a distraction? Some of this hair, I'm just not going to even worry about. Again, this is not a beauty retouch. We do not need to go crazy with how far we take this. Just trying to give you a general sense. And if you find this boring, feel free to skip ahead to the other parts of the video that are more interesting. But if you find this interesting, please, by all means, keep watching. And let me know if you have any questions about my process. Alright, looking fairly good. I'm also not stressing too much about the edges, because I'm going to paint over the edges even more. I'm mainly now looking, I'll show you what I'm looking at, sort of looking at where the hair is crossing over along large swaths of the image. That's what I'm focused on right now. So, if you're wondering, oops, on a low layer. Let's go back to high. You'll notice that I'm sort of sampling at sort of random places. Sometimes I'm sampling somewhere close, sometimes I'm sampling somewhere far. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I am trying to incorporate some randomness into the image. I don't want things to be too perfect. Otherwise it's going to look weird. So we're sort of venturing into that almost too perfect area on this side of the head. It's not the end of the world because I know I'm going to go back and paint over, but I probably don't want to do any more up in this area because it's starting to look pretty perfect. I mean, we've done a lot of work in this short amount of time. But yeah, I'm gonna do a little more. All right, that's good. I don't want to go any further. All right, let's get the J tool in here. See if we can clean up this hairline a little bit. Boom. So cool. Selecting an area. This might cost some aliasing. Nope. Does a great job. Okay, there you go. Command D to deselect if you need to deselect. This isn't doing anything for me. Let's go there. Pluck the eyebrows a little bit. That's good. It's looking good. Nothing too crazy here. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Pretty good. Alright, I'm pretty happy with those results. That looks pretty darn good to me. Hair's still a little bit crazy down in this section. It's just so much hair going in all different directions. Pretty tough to work with. It's about how crazy do I want to make myself? How adventurous am I feeling? Feeling pretty adventurous, I guess, since I'm starting to do this. Just want to correct some of this. Some of these hairs are catching a lot of light, and it looks like a distraction, right? Like this hair right there. It's not doing anything for me. Sometimes when I am sampling, the sampler doesn't go off like there, so I have to re-hit it. It's just because my computer's a little slow. It's thinking hard. All this processing. That's good. Pretty good, pretty good. Oops, that's not what I meant. Alright, let's save this so we don't lose our process. Our progress, I should say. Let's go back to our J tool here. Get rid of that little... I think I just made a mistake and accidentally cloned a spot. Alright, so this area is a little tricky. There's a little hair here. Let's see if we can get rid of that. Perfect. The patch tool to the rescue. I keep calling it the J tool, but it's the patch tool. So like for example, all these little moles, character. I call that character. We don't want to get rid of those. It's great. They don't bother me. You know, if this were a beauty shoot, yes, we would get rid of them. But it's just a little headshot. Little headshot. Let's get back to our stamp tool. Amazing teeth. His teeth are perfect. Sometimes, like if I'm taking portraits of myself, my teeth from all the coffee I drink are so yellow. Terrible. Terrible. Going to the dentist tomorrow. Fun times. Oh no. There we go. Tricky. It's always tricky when you have a patterned sweater like this. Sample over here. Sample up. Sample in the good area. Perfect. Perfect. It's also nice that this is out of focus, right? So I can do that sort of thing. Alright, now we gotta go to the high layer, because apparently that's a thing. It's always funny when you get to the end and it just creates like an abrupt hard line. You're like, oops, didn't mean to do that. Did not mean to do that, yo. I'm trying to think if, when I'm not doing these videos, if I talk to myself when I'm retouching. And I think every once in a while I'll chat with myself. I'll just, well, it won't be like I'm having a conversation with myself so much as I'm like commenting on what's going on. Be like, what is the right thing I should do? Like I'm sort of journaling with myself, if you will. This, not a huge deal. This is still bothering me down here. Too much brown. It looks weird. Like it looks like, and maybe it's because there is, you know, there is brown in the sweater, but it looks like the hair is just random. Okay, now I've botched it. Let's go back some. Yeah, I think there's just sort of brown color in the sweater, and it looks a little bit like hair. That's fine. That's good enough for me. I'm gonna hit the escape there. That's good enough. It's good enough. It's good enough. Alright, now time for the fun part. Let's actually, let's just double check and make sure the skin looks good. I think the skin looks great. It is bopping. I think I've done all the skin work I've needed to. Teeth are looking good. Don't see anything I need to really address there. Lips are fine. Eyelashes, eyebrows, everything good. And again, right, I'm not going for perfection here. You might be like, but there's a stray eyebrow, or there's like a little yellow, or whatever. Nope, not worrying about that right now. Worrying about big picture stuff. Alright, let's go to a brush. We're going to go to normal brush. Open up our brushes here. And we're going to use a hairbrush. And we're going to bring this down here. And we're going to sample. We have this blank layer here at the top of our frequency separation. And we're just going to brush in some small little hairs. Hold the option key. Oops, gotta increase my flow. Alright, there we go. Sample some hair that's close by. There we go. Gotta be a little smaller maybe. You can use this with a little single hairbrush strand. Lots of hairbrushes online, plenty of free options out there. And I forgot where I got this one from. If I remember, I will let you know. And oops, I'm gonna sample here and kind of brush back. Pretend like it's coming in from the root. Just adding a little, darkening this area a bit. Right. Sample some here. Get that in. Kind of making long strokes here. Sample here. Kind of going back here. Right. Starting back here. And this is kind of sticking out like a sore thumb right now. Don't stress too much about that. Actually, let's correct this first. Let's go back to S. Let's get rid of this. Oh. Let's hear all here. Let's make this an easier starting point for me. But anyway, like I was saying, don't stress about like that you can see the paint strokes right now, because what I'm going to do is, excuse me, apologies. I am going to blur all my paint strokes and also add some noise, which will give it some textured stuff. Alright, that's a lot better. Let's keep going. That's good. Alright, let's go back to our brush. Now that that's taken care of, sample this little dark area here. So essentially what I'm doing is I am deciding the structure of oh look, my mom just sent me a Christmas present. That's nice. I'm deciding what the flyaways are doing by doing this, right? I'm like saying, I even want the flyaways to be perfect, right? Because if I don't add them back, right? If I don't add some texture back, some little randomness back, it's gonna look way too perfect. And it's gonna look strange, and that's what happens when people like use little apps on the web that like cut people out from backdrops and stuff, and then they have like parts of their hair that is just fading away into white. It looks really weird. This is why you hire a professional, because they will paint your hair back in. Yeah, this spot needs to be thickened up a little bit. I'm also going to rotate to make this easier for me. Sample here, do a little brush. Just going to thicken this up a bit. Right, pretty cool. Separated, kind of random. Boop, boop, boop. Get this little dark area here. Yep, just continue that. Random. And I'm just kind of brushing pretty lightly, right? I'm just kind of adding in some randomness, kind of layering. A big part of this process is layering. So I'll layer one, sample here, get a little color, sample here, get a little another color. Because that's sort of how your hair looks. When light hits it, there's sort of a randomness to it, and it looks very natural. But I also don't like these dark spots, so I'm trying to fill those in a little bit. Right? This is chaos right here. Let's clean that up a bit. Chaos. Don't like it. Do not like it. This right here is also not making me happy. Let's get rid of that. Sometimes you will find that rotating your image helps a lot, as is the case here. It helps me to, it's just easier for me to paint in certain directions, from left to right, for example. It's much easier for me to do that than it is for me to try to do up and down. So that's why I did that. Alright, that looks a lot better. Back to work. Back to business. Alright, let's flick this out. Let's try to speed this up a little bit. Thicken it up. Sample. Little flicks. Add some randomness. That might be too much randomness. So there's a natural like little curve here, so we can add that in like that, right? Get that in there, that little movement. Maybe not that much. Maybe we want something a little lighter. There we go. Let's add a little whooshes. Right? Just layering it up. Alright, this is pure chaos down here. Honestly, not even gonna stress about it. That would have taken another hour at least to clear up all the stuff down here, and I just don't want to do it. Sometimes you don't want to. You're like, why? Because I don't want to. I don't wanna. Alright, actually, I am going to clean this up a little bit on the edge here, though. It's mainly referring to all this stuff in here, where the hairs are crossing every which way. Not going to be something I'm going to stress about. Too much work. At the end of the day, I know that these photos are going to be viewed on a very small screen, so these are not going to be in a print piece. Well, actually, they might be in a print piece. We'll see. But, anywho, I'm not going to stress about all these hairs. Going which ways. Alright, let's zoom out a little bit. Looking good. Let's go back to our brush tool. Oh, goodness. Gotta get off. Gotta be on the right layer, you know? Alright, there we go. Sample. Do do do. Do do do. Do do do. Nice. Get these dark little hairs in here. Do these nice little red hairs. Bring those in. Little blonde hairs. Oh. There we go. Nice. And what we've done is, let's reset our view. Boop. Look at that. Now we've created a nice little natural edge that looks very natural. It's great. You know? Let's zoom in here. Look at that. I mean, come on. Come on. Looks great. Yeah. I mean, look at that. Look at that. Boom, boom. Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay. So that's that. It's pretty good. The other side, do we need it so much? I hardly did any cleanup on this side, so it has a pretty natural look. Most of it was done on this right side or the left side of the model. I might need a little bit at the top so it's not so mushy. So let's do that. Let's just go up here and, oh, I did some up here. I can see my strokes there. Let's just do a little more. Add a little randomness. You know, for the kids. Gonna go back here. Gonna get rid of the actual hair edge. And that's what we're doing here. We're saying get rid of the hair edge and let me create the hair edge I want, which is pretty cool. That's what we're doing here. That's what we're all about. That's what the Hokey Pokey is all about. Hair edges. Put that on a t-shirt. This is going to be one massive video file when I am done. That looks good. If I were super stressed about, you know, if I were trying to make everything look perfect, I would I'd probably put these different sides, put these, you know, on different sides, but not really stressing about that right now. Just trying to incorporate some randomness. Some are going up, some are going down. Doing a little S's, curves. Remember, hair is not perfect. It's not. It's kind of random, and so trying to incorporate some randomness here. Do some different colors, getting some other colors in there. This is how we do it. This is it. Right here. Making it do what it does. Can't believe I do this. It's kind of... I think you have to be a particularly strange person to enjoy this type of stuff. Because it is tedious, to say the least. Alright, let's zoom out. Let's look at the before and after. Boom. Boom. Oh man, so good. So good. Alright, that is looking good. Alright, fun thing here. Next, we're pretty happy with everything else. I think I want to do the skin next. Alright, so let's do a little stamp visible layer. Some fun little trick here. I'm going to just do it because I know what I want to do, and I'll explain this process another time. But I'm going to run a high pass filter. I'm going to invert it. I already knew the dimensions that I wanted for this image, but it's not going to be exactly the same for your image. It's going to be different based on different variables. This is my favorite process for making skin look perfect. Alright, so now we've got all that taken care of. Let's go to our brush settings, soft round, crank that up nice and big, painting with white. I'm just going to go over the entire face, and I know you're going to be like, whoa, that looks terrible. Don't worry, don't panic. This is all part of the process. I promise you it will look fine. And if you're like, no, it won't look fine, it will. It will, I promise. I promise it will. Okay, so now I've done the whole face, so now I'm going to go Shift 2 to bring it down to 20% on my flow. And I'm going to bring back any characteristic features. So eyes, eyebrows, nose, dimples, cheeks, teeth, mouth, all that jazz. Edges of the face. And you're like, this looks terrible. Don't worry. I know this looks terrible right now, but you will understand as soon as I finish. Make sure this collar looks good. Alright, that looks good. Zoom in a little tighter. A little smaller brush. Want to bring these moles back. Don't want to mess with them. Alright. Pretty good? Alright, great. So that looks still pretty bad because I got to do a little more. Right here. That looks a lot better. Bring in this side of the mouth. Let's turn this off. Turn it on. Alright, there's a little dimple here I need to reveal. Doot, 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 doot. Don't want to get rid of the freckles. So don't stress about that. What we're doing here is just a quick sort of reveal. Alright, that looks about where I want it. Alright, we're going to turn this back on and we're going to drop this way, way low. We're going to drop it low like we're on the dance floor. Let's do it 20%. And it's subtle. It's just a kiss of sort of uniformity in the skin color. Okay, we're just kind of, any kind of blemishes, we're just adding a little bit there. I'm going to bump it up to 20, or excuse me, 30. See what we're rocking with here. Zoom out. 30 might be too much. Might be too much. We'll see. Let's go with 25. Split the difference. That's pretty good. I'm happy with that. Okay, so we've done that. That's that. We've added a little bit of sort of tightening up on the uniformity of colors. The transitions are a lot smoother between one area of skin to another. Next, we're going to make stamp visible layer, Command Shift E, Command Shift Option E, excuse me. We're going to desaturate it by hitting Command Shift U. And then we're going to add a high pass filter. A small high pass filter, probably like 5%. Just looking at the cheeks here. It's the main area where I'm looking. to see what the sharpness is. I think we'll bring it down 4. We'll go with 4. And then I like to use overlay. You can use whatever is strong. Now that's pretty heavy there, so I'm gonna bring it down to like 30. Bring that down. And it's just a kiss of sharpness there. Just a little extra pop of sharpness. Ever so slight. Okay, now comes probably my favorite part, which is the dodging and burning, and we're going to do this in layers. I'm going to do curves. I'm going to duplicate this. This is going to be my dodge. This is going to be my burn. Dodge will be bright. Click on my layer mask. Press Command I to invert. My dodge. Bring that, excuse me, on my burn. I'm going to darken that. Layer mask, Command I. Alright, so we have this one as my brightening mask, this one as my darkening mask, and that is dodge and burn. We're going to change these blend modes from normal to luminosity. It's a little hack to make better dodging and burning. I'll explain that later in another video. But for now, that's all you need to know. Alright, so now we're going to burn. That means we're going to darken stuff. So I'm going to bring my brush size down to Shift 0.5 on my flow, just so it's not so fast. I want to be gradual. I want to be gentle with this. Alright, so what do we want to darken? I'm going to darken the eyebrows a little bit, right? And I'll just show you what that looks like just right there. Nice. Adds a little thickening to the eyebrows there. And yeah, and I'm going to do sort of just some contouring. So I'm going to go over on the edge of the face, along the edge of the jawline, a little bit into the ears, you know, right in here, down the center of the nose, and above, kind of higher above the eyebrows, not directly above the eyebrows, but kind of higher above. And we're going to come back to that in a second. Let's switch over to the dodge. I'm going to do above the eyes and then above the eyebrows. I'm going to do a little bit on the eyes, just a hint, and then a little line across the nose there, right here on the jaw, or on the chin, I should say. A little bit on the cheeks, and then a little bit on the forehead and the center part. Make this a little bigger. There we go. And let's bring in the burn again. Bring this down there. Looking good. We're on a burn, so I'm going to just darken here, just kind of brighten this spot, brighten that spot. Perfect. And then what else am I looking for? I am looking to move on to the hair. This is a really fun part for me. It's adding dodging and burning hair is super fun. So we're just gonna, anything that is light, we're just gonna lighten it up. Anything that is dark, we're gonna darken it down. We're just exaggerating what's already there, and it's gonna be super cool. It's gonna be super cool. And this is gonna add so much dimensionality to the hair. I think it does, but I like to let the results speak for themselves, and you will see the before and after. I promise. I won't leave you hanging. Gonna dodge in here a little more. Dodge in there a little more. Get that line. Get that line. Nice. I think I need to burn this area in a little more. Yeah, that looks better. And maybe dodge. I think I need to switch this up just a little bit. Alright, that looks good. Yep. Dodge this a little more. Burn this a little more. Alright, so that is essentially... Actually, I also want to burn in these shoulders a little more because they're kind of bright. Just want to darken those down a little bit so they're not so distracting. And let's group this. And then that is the dodge and burn. Very powerful stuff. Look at that hair. Look at the hair. Oh, love it. Great, great stuff. Okay, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with the results. That's pretty good. What is next? Next is, I think I want to add, we're going to add another folder. We're going to add in 2 curves. One is going to be for color correction, the other one's going to be for, or not, color grading, and one's going to be for contrast. So let's go to our red channel. I'm just going to neutralize the reds a little bit, bring it down, maybe a little more. I don't know, something in there. Green. I'm just going to kind of push these in a little bit in the extremes, and then I'll go back and tweak. And that's a little bit more neutral, I think. It might be a little bit too cool. I may have gone a little bit too far. Yeah, I went too far. Let's bring it down. I'll just drop it down. Drop it down to like 40%. Yeah, there we go. Kind of correcting for the redness in the image. That looks pretty good. Alright, now here is just going to be a medium contrast. So I'm going to just change this to luminosity, and then I'm going to make this a medium contrast curve. Boop. I'm going to bring that down to probably around 30%. And what that looks like. Looks good. I'm happy. I'm happy. Alright, now, let's see the before and after. Boom, before, boom, after. Before, after. Before, after. Now, I am noticing something here that I am not crazy about, which is this little white line here. A couple of ways I could go about doing that, but I think the fun little thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to dodge it, or excuse me, burn it in a little bit. So I'm going to go here, change this to luminosity, and I'm going to invert this layer, brush, zoom in a little bit, make my brush smaller, boop. Perfect. Now it's less of a distraction. Before, after. Before, after. Yeah. Nice. Great. Alright, so I am pretty happy with that. So we're going to export this as a JPEG, and then we'll be done. So I hope you've enjoyed this. And this has just kind of been a quick headshot edit. And if you have any questions about the process, please leave a comment below. Like and subscribe if you like this and like to see more content like this. All right, see you in the next one.